Alrighty guys, time's come. Finally, we're gonna hit one of my favorite builds here today in 2nd edition. Welcome to another episode of Min-Maxing for Fun and Profit. Today, at the request of Mr. AJ Parker, we're looking at the Fighter Cleric of Torog. One of the more, dare I say it, tanky characters in Pathfinder 2nd edition, and proof positive that strength-based martials are playable in this game. Is this the video that compares them to the Dex Martial to see who comes out in front? No, it's not. That's coming. For now, though, if you're liking what you're seeing, like, subscribe, ding the bell. Today, this episode of Min-Maxing for Fun and Profit was brought to you in part by our newest patron, Mr. Eric. I probably may be butchering this hard, Johansson. I'm really sorry if I mispronounced that, friend. In any case, thank you for your support. Should be, as of a little later than tomorrow, I should have a couple more bi-weekly patrons rolling in, and we should be pretty close to 4 figures on Patreon, which is amazing. In any case, let's hit it. Okay, so you guys all know in Pathfinder 1st edition how much I hated playing a character without dexterity. Dexterity was our initiative, our armor class, our reflex save, and very easily could be our attack and damage, making it better than being a high-strength character, as a high-strength character added his strength to his ability to climb, swim, carry stuff, and hit, basically. In 2nd edition, that has changed dramatically. As to remedy that, it appears that strength has been given more things to do than just hit. In addition, like we talked about in a heavy armor video the day this game dropped, the tools of the strength martial have changed as well, in such a way as to keep them on par. For example, before we go way into the build, check out the Bulwark trait. This trait's on full plate, and it says, on reflex saves to avoid a damaging effect, so the basic reflex save, basically against anything you're reflexing against, you add a +3 modifier instead of your dexterity. Yeah, that's nuts. Anyway, let's go straight into the build, shall we? It was requested we build a dwarf, and so here we are once again, swinging in with that ancient-blooded dwarf. Call on ancient blood's still pretty good. Probably better than the one that can do elemental damage once a day. Your mileage may vary. For our background, we'll be borrowing one from the Lost Omens World Guide, Sengor Sailor, as this is the only background right now that I could find that gives you the quick repair skill from jump, which is pretty big for us. We will be relying upon something that will break when it gets hit, so our ability to fix it more efficiently, of course, is huge. Our starting ability scores are Strength 18, Dex 10, Con 14, Int 12, Wiz 16, Chaw 8. By 20th level, a Strength of 24 with our Apex item, because Strength is so huge for this build. A Dexterity of 12, because we had the extra point. Better than making something odd, I guess. A Con of 20, an Int of 18, a Wisdom of 20, and a Charisma of 10. On that note, also, I suppose it's worth mentioning that with Initiative now being based on any ability score, but primarily Wisdom, it makes the Fighter Cleric look even better. Not only is a fighter good at perception, the Fighter Cleric is incentivized to have higher wisdom, and therefore the best of both worlds. At level 1, we will take that taxiest of taxi class feats, Reactive Shield. As a reaction, get your shield up if you would be hit, possibly altering it into a miss or a hit, not a crit. This is a pretty good reaction, and on balance, I think you will use this more than the Attack of Opportunity reaction, probably. We're kind of just grabbing it because it's a prereq for a better one later. Anyway, level 2, it's the Cleric Dedication. This, of course, allows you to cast spells like a cleric, getting you some divine spells. You choose a deity, we're choosing Torog, you're bound to Torog's anathema, you get trained in stuff. Not a lot of really crazy, super awesome stuff from jump, but the cleric does give the fighter the other half of the survivability that makes the quintessential, dare I say it again, tank character have what it needs to function. Of course, there's nothing stopping things from flying over you, going around you, shooting past you, casting past you, because we're still missing that one crucial bit to make the tank, that is to say, something that forces opponents to attack you instead of anyone else. But in scenarios where you're trying to breach a garrison, shall we say, in scenarios where you're in tight hallways, tight corridors, where there's only a 5-foot square that you can plant yourself in, this can shine. And certainly you should expect, as the guy running around with a bastard sword and shield, maybe I just like Mountain Blade too much, but I do think that's the best way to do it, to probably get attacked at some point. Anyway, next up, feat level 4, Emblazon Armament. It's a 1-2 punch for us. By carefully etching a sacred image into a physical object, we'll be making Torog's holy symbol on a shield. We steel ourselves for battle by spending 10 minutes emblazoning Torog's holy symbol upon said shield. It doesn't fade until the campaign is over, basically, but, I mean, if you really make it over a year in your game, certainly you can just make the thing again. The item becomes a religious symbol of Torog and can be used as a divine focus, aka once we start getting more cleric spells, we don't have to free a hand up to cast them. And since it's a shield, our shield will gain a +1 status bonus to its hardness, causing it to reduce more damage when we block, causing it to be a little bit harder to break. Helps out the cleric side, helps out the fighter side, best of both sides. We'll take Domain Initiate next. This will allow us to gain an initial domain spell from a domain offered by Torog. We are choosing Might. This also gives us a focus pool of 1 focus point, and informs us that we refill our focus pool during daily prep and can regain a single focus point by spending 10 minutes using the refocus activity to pray. Of course, remember, using the refocus activity is its own independent activity, and so you cannot do both at the same time, which is unfortunate. The Might Domain's basic power, Athletic Rush, says you get a +10 status bonus to speed and +2 status bonus to athletics checks. As part of casting the spell, you can stride, leap, climb, or swim. The spell's bonuses apply during that action, so you can, if you need to, stride an extra 10 feet as our Unburdened Iron Dwarf moving 30. It's a thing in low-level play, but really, this is just a prereq for us. The better one is coming. Quick Shield Block is next at level 8, which gives us an extra reaction at the start of our turns, which can only be used to shield block, which is really huge. Keeping us from taking damage, the shield, again, is the ring of protection. Always make sure you have an action, at least at the beginning, to raise that shield to get your AC up, and if you do get hit, or if you do get crit for a billion D12s, eat some of that damage. Even if that causes the shield to break or even flat be destroyed, it's better than you being destroyed almost all the time. With that in mind, the Dwarven War Axe looked really flavorful for us. We are choosing the Bastard Sword for our weapon, because I don't want to have to take a feat anywhere. To get my proficiency with an uncommon weapon up to Legendary, I'd rather just grab the common Martial Bastard Sword, and when the shield inevitably does break, at least at lower level play, drop the shield and switch to a two-handed D12 weapon. That seems really good to me. Again, maybe I've just played too much Mountain Blade, and yes, I'm hyped for the open beta for Bannerlord, but that's an entirely different story. Moving right along. Basic Cleric spellcasting is next, to start taking up into the realm of being able to heal ourselves and having other divine spells to keep us versatile. Remember, as a divine caster, we have access to all the things, we just pick the ones we want that day by praying. Even if that's just a one-action heal, even if your turns are like, spend one action to heal myself, spend one action to raise my shield, spend one action to strike, doesn't seem bad. It keeps you in contention for longer, and since we're trying to negate as much damage as possible, the d8s of heal don't have to go as far. Next up at level 12, we will grab Paragon's Guard. This is a stance, which means that we pop it with one action and it lasts until you get knocked out, until its requirements, if any, are violated, in the case of Paragon's Guard, if we stop wielding a shield, or until the encounter ends or you switch stances. Paragon's Guard's a pretty easy one for us. While you're in that stance, you constantly have that shield up as if you'd use the raise a shield action. As long as you meet the action's requirements, you are wielding a shield. As long as you have a shield, it is raised. So the scenario exists where a shield is broken and we've dropped a shield and we've dug into our bag of holding to pull out the second shield. And yes, since you can't put runes on a shield, I do think it's a valid strategy to just have a boatload of shields in early level play. Pick one up, keep it, put it on the cart, put it in the bag of holding, carry it yourself if you have the bulk. Negating damage is real sweet in a game where a lot of damage can come down really fast. Nevertheless, Paragon's Guard saving us that extra action in combat means we might be able to get a second strike in, means we can stride if necessary. Just because the game is a little simpler than 1E doesn't mean action economy isn't super important. Next is Expert Cleric spellcasting, to continue up that old chain of spellcasting. But the big one comes at level 16 in the form of Advanced Domain. This grants us the Advanced Domain spell from that Might Domain. It increases our points in the pool by 1 for our maximum of 2. And this is where the build gets real fun, as it gets us probably, I haven't seen all of them, and this is just as of like the first month of 2nd edition being out. There may be something better come out at some point, but Enduring Might. It's a somatic reaction. When an attack or effect would give you a boo-boo, your own might mingles with divine power and gives you resistance equal to 8 plus your strength modifier. Yeah, against all damage from the triggering attack or effect. By letting strength have access to more things, by letting strength being more relevant across the various things that go on in Pathfinder 2nd edition, that makes it good. If I had to hazard a guess, I would say that dexterity might, in some niche builds, like a backstabbing 2-weapon fighting rogue running around with like dog slicers, might maybe pull out ahead of this. But my first just gut reaction, without sitting down and comparing any of the numbers, is that they're probably going to be about equal. It won't be that the guy doing cartwheels is better than the guy who is dual-wielding tower shields. And remember, that video was super wrong when I did that in 1st edition because, well, you can't get a shield bonus twice in 1E, can you? Since we have an extra reaction to block with our shield, and I can't find any language, though it may be eroded at some point, though it may be ruled differently at some point, I don't know. We'll have to see. I believe if you would like to react to something twice, you can. Of course, your game master has the final decision, but my idea is probably Enduring Might has to go second because I'm resisting damage and the attack is actually hitting me. But if I block to resist some stuff and then the rest of the damage rolls over and then I resist the rolled over damage rather than the full, there may come scenarios, especially when bad guys roll a little lower, that an attack may well do no damage to you and a critical hit may do a whole lot less. It seems really good to me. Really, to be honest, we did a I cast Great Sword Cleric, as well as a couple other Cleric builds in the playtest in min-maxing for fun and profit, and they look pretty similar to this. It may be an exact 1-for-1, I don't know, I'm not looking at that build right now, but it's still really good. Master Cleric spellcasting is next, because spellcasting is still really good. If nothing else, getting a higher up spell slot to heighten heals on ourselves and on our friends doesn't seem bad. Last but not least, at 20th level, Boundless Reprisals. Capstone feat of the fighter. With the 6th sense for the flow of combat, you can quickly react to any situation as required. At the start of each enemy's turn, you gain a reaction that you can use only during that turn. That means we have essentially 3 reactions, which can only ever go down to 1. Super good when you realize that an Adamantine Shield, once you have access to that, and by 20th I bet you do, can only be destroyed by like disintegrate spells and things of that nature. Always having that reaction to reduce some damage coming at you, definitely what we're all about here. But it was also requested we talk about the crafting feats on this character, and so we will. Repairing is definitely something this character will want to do early and often. When a shield gets broken, you want to drop the shield and switch to a 2-handed grip with your weapon because you can't repair a destroyed thing, but being able to throw down our shield outside of combat, fix it up, get it ready to go, and again, multiple shields probably doesn't sound bad. Or like if the hobgoblin you're fighting gets a broken shield when you punch through it, but not a destroyed shield, repair theirs, have them for backups, and you'll do so at level 1 with Quick Repair. Quick Repair says you take 1 minute to repair an item. If you're a master in crafting, it takes 3 actions. If you're legendary, it takes 1. Now, this has been codified a little better since the playtest, I am sorry to say, friends. To repair a thing, you must place the item on a stable surface and use a repair kit with both hands. So no longer is it with the shield raised, use one action and dent out the dent in your metal shield, I guess, and then go again. You'll have to still do this in downtime. The point is, you're taking it from 10 minutes to 1 minute, eventually just to one action. Just knock it out real quick when you get a second to breathe, basically. Is it combat useful? No. In dungeon crawls, when you find a table, hey, good enough. Flip it over, iron things out, break out the duct tape, you're totally fine. At least if you make the successful craft check and you are able to get it back to full hit points. The GM sets the DC, and the GM determines the DC to craft an item based on its level, rarity, and other circumstances, so we can't really talk about optimizing that. Nevertheless, we will be grabbing all those sweet crafting feats because they're still good. These are the only skill feats we will be talking about today. Some of your skill feats are in fact still open. You have a pretty high wisdom, you have a pretty high strength. Take what it is you think you need to function. Again, friends, flavor to taste. Specialty crafting, choosing the blacksmith is next. Eventually, +2 circumstance bonus on crafting the things. Not bad when we consider that making weapons and selling them could in fact be a reasonable downtime activity for us, especially with magical crafting, which allows us to craft magic items, though some have other requirements, which we'll get to cheat eventually. But make the runes for the party, make the magic items for selling. You guys know what's up. Impeccable Crafter is next, because we just love to crit more, so whenever you roll a success at a crafting check to make an item of the type you selected with specialty crafting, blacksmith stuff, you get a critical success instead. Speeding up the process, making it easier. The rich get richer, friends. Inventor will help us craft formula for common things we might not necessarily be able to find, and craft anything allows us to cheat like spell requirements and things. Simple enough. As for our dwarf ancestry feats, Unburdened Iron, of course, will keep us moving at full speed, eventually in our full plate, though our strength, once again, allows us to move at only a -5 speed reduction. Vengeful Hatred helps us hurt the things that hurt us, and could be real good, because we're not adding any circumstance bonuses to damage in-house, aside from like a couple of cleric spells probably. Then it's Halfling Luck, then it's Guiding Luck. Ah geez, who saw that coming? Then Mountain Stoutness for an extra toughness for our general feats. We get the shield block reaction in-house, so we'll take Incredible Initiative first, then Adopted Ancestry for Halflings, Canny Acumen for our worst save, our will save, then Toughness and Die Hard. You guys know what's up. And now let's look at some math, shall we? So at the end of the day, with our 24 strength with that sweet Apex item and the biggest rune we can slap on a bastard sword, we're looking at a 38 to hit on our first attack. Since that's basically a 40 if we can get things flat-footed, the critical specialization from the sword group, as well as a myriad of other ways to do it, that means we only need a 14 to hit Tree Razor. Yeah, only. Just a 14. That's all. Everything else is bad, but a 14 will get there. Honestly, I really wish there was a way to squeeze True Strike onto the Divine list, because then we would be looking a little better. But that means we only need a 7 to hit the Torlin Orm, and only a 17 to crit it. So we're critting like the Keen Bastard Sword would be in Pathfinder 1st Edition. Funny how that worked, huh? We're not going to talk about damage today, because our damage output is not anything we're super concerned about this time. This time we're a little more worried about how much damage we ourselves can resist. I think it is inevitable at higher level play that things are going to hit you. As a master in heavy armor, we're looking at 26 plus 3 from the rune, plus 6 from our armor, and plus 2 from our shield. Means that we will be coming in with an armor class before any magical shenanigans of plus 37 with our shield raised. The Torlin Orm adds 40 when it attacks with its jaws, so that's a fun thing. Hooray. And when Tree Razor gets his axe a-swinging, Tree Razor's adding 47! Oh, that's a number. Meaning Tree Razor can't not critically hit us? Whew, okay. Yeah, Tree Razor's still scary. We'll figure that one out. But in any case, 4d12 plus 15 plus 3d6, and probably 2d6 more because we're going to be treated as plants, means that on average, Tree Razor's hitting us for 59 damage, or 118 points of damage when he crits on average. So that's a thing. Our ability to heal will obviously be very, very important. And I suppose I'm also assuming that the chaotic and the evil damage can harm you. Maybe don't be a lawful good character this time. Anyway, moving forward. The Adamantine Shield has a hardness of 13 and never breaks, and we can buff that up to 14. And we can resist 27 points of damage with Enduring Might, assuming we can use both reactions. Holy crap, I hope we can. Means that in theory, we can stop, on average, about 34% of the damage that is thrown at us, which is a pretty respectable number. Nevertheless, woof, Tree Razor is scary. Just remember, against the normal monsters you'll be fighting, it will be much, much easier to shrug off that damage. Heal is good. Keep yourself healed. Keep it going. Stand there. Hopefully there's a fighter behind you who's really good at hitting things. Really, we need to build the Tree Razor killing party, because I'm terrified, but that's all the time we have for today, guys. What do you all think? Have we played the fighter cleric? How are our big ugly meat shields holding up in Pathfinder 2nd Edition? And if you have any requests, they go in the comments. Remember that patronage at any tier gets you access to a Google Sheet that this character is built upon, guides to understand the intricacies of Pathfinder 1st and 2nd Edition content, and can get your requests anywhere. Jump to the front of the line. Next week on Min-Maxing for Fun and Profit, we're going to build the expert in hunting and beast-taking. The proverbial alpha, as it were. Taking that trope once believed to exist in nature amongst certain animals and moving it on forward. Optimizing around nature and using it to get friends to help with combat. Should be an interesting build. Honestly, I'm not really sure what I'm going to do with it, but I'll see you next time.